Live from the 24-hour tracking center, this is a severe weather alert.
Breaking now, we're continuing to follow that severe weather that has been going all across western Michigan here. The city of Grand Rapids just held a news conference about the flooding impacting Grand Rapids.
So let's go live now to 24-hour News 8's Danny Carlson, live on the phone with what has been said there. Danny?
Well, Emily and Brett's press conference here just wrapped up. Represented City of Grand Rapids Police Department, Red Cross, Salvation Army, and people from the wastewater treatment plant all coming out to tell people that they are preparing for the worst. They're also telling us that at this point, the Grand River level is about 18 feet, saying that it's expected to crest at just under 25 feet on Sunday, but they're saying that that should not go over the flood walls at this point. Now, again, the mayor says that all employees here at the city of Grand Rapids, all of their leaves have been canceled, calling this an all-hands-on-deck situation, but stressing that this is not an emergency situation. It is not a state of emergency in the city of Grand Rapids, but they say that that is something that they are going to watch carefully. Now, another thing, the Red Cross has opened several shelters, saying about 30 people are already in shelters in West Michigan, in Kent County, and they plan to open shelters in Alpine, Kentwood, and Lowell, saying that they already have shelters open in Ionia and Wyoming for those people who need help there. Now, there are also many more things coming out of this, and we're asking people out there within the city of Grand Rapids, if you do see flooding, especially if it's potentially dangerous, to call the city and to report that. Also, the police chief here in Grand Rapids saying if you just can't see the asphalt on the roadway, do not drive your car through it, because he says a lot of people have been getting caught in that water, and even after people see other cars getting caught in that water, more cars keep going, and then they have to try to help those people. So saying if you cannot see the pavement, do not drive your car down the roadway. Now, we plan to stay on top of this story. We'll bring you updates as the story continues to develop, so stay tuned to 24-hour News 8. For now, live at City Hall, Danny Carlson, 24-hour News 8.
Thanks, Danny. Let's get a check of what's happening with the weather now.
Storm teammates Matt Kirkwood and Kyle Underwood are live in the 24-hour tracking center right now. We'll start with Matt.
Couple improvements right now to talk about. The heavy rain is essentially over. We're still dealing with some light rain out there. And obviously the flooding is going to continue as all the tributaries and also the little rivers and small streams go into the main rivers, such as the Grand River, Thornapple, and so forth. Let's take a look at Storm Track Live radar. Another improvement is on the severe weather situation. It looks like it's going to shift to the eastern side of the state if they get it at all. Right now, we're going to stop the loop. You can see the general movement to the north and east with this latest batch of rain. Should be out of the Grand Rapids area sometime, or US 131, in about an hour or so, but I'm a little concerned that we have a little bit more rain off to our south. You can see in the central Illinois another batch off to our south and west as it pivots to the north and east while the line itself moves to the east. So it may just brush the Grand Rapids area, but again, I emphasize the heaviest is over. Now, the slight risk area still includes much of our viewing area, but really looking at it, it really looks like a line from basically Lansing over towards the Marshall area and points to the east, essentially where we're seeing the warm air. Still, if you're around the cold water area, southern extent of I-69, could see some strong, if not severe thunderstorms, and the main threat would be hail. Here's the latest on severe thunderstorm threat. You can see a couple severe thunderstorms warnings on the other side of the state, and still a tornado watch, but that's really where we're expecting most of the severe weather to be. They just actually have taken Branch County out of that watch. So that certainly is good news. We'll continue with the light rain out there, and then tomorrow we're going to have to deal with some strong winds, and we're also going to have to continue dealing with the flooding, and Kyle has more on that.
Yeah, Matt, we dodged a little bit of a bullet with the severe weather earlier today, but the rain threat continues. And as Matt mentioned, the heaviest of the rain has fallen, but we wouldn't be surprised to see additional rainfall accumulations, especially considering the low pressure system. The storm center itself is still down to our south and west. A lot of moisture to work with here still, but again, the heaviest of the rain has fallen. This is what we're thinking in terms of additional rainfall forecast. We've already picked up several inches from this system, and we could pick up another half, perhaps 3/4 of an inch of rain by the time this starts to wind down tonight. That's why you see so many counties here shaded in green. These are flood warnings across West Michigan for countless rivers and streams that are exceeding their banks. We want to highlight one where we think the most detrimental flooding is going to take place. This is the Grand River Comstock Park. So we're talking about northern and central Kent County here, away from the flood barrier protection and the flood walls that we have the benefit of downtown here, Grand Rapids. Minor flooding, that's not even a question. That is come and gone. We're in the moderate to major flood stage right now. Currently, river levels are rising pretty rapidly. A lot of very heavy rain here this morning through the midday. More rain is on the way, and the thing about flooding is, especially the river flooding, this is not flash flooding, is that as the rain stops, which it's going to start to do later tonight, all the water that has fallen all across the floodplain and the shield of the area that the rain falls and flows into the river, it's going to take a while for all that water to go through work its way through the little streams, the creeks, the smaller rivers, the tributaries is what we call them, into the main rivers. And so even though the rain is stopping later today, we're going to see these rivers continue to rise. And the National Weather Service Hydrology Department is forecasting an all-time record high. The previous record, 1948, we're going to exceed that by at least half a foot. So we're talking about major flooding in Comstock Park along the Grand River for folks like we have never seen here in recorded history.
Wow. Thank you. We have an update on the flooding at 44th and Kennewa. That intersection is now closed.
And 24 News 8's Joe LaFergie has been at that intersection all afternoon long. So is there any change there, Joe?
Well, it's actually gotten a bit worse. You know, Kyle talked about the danger along the rivers and along the bodies of water, but if you are a motorist, you have to be aware of the flooding danger. Taking a look, panning across, you're looking up southbound Kennewa. You still see that first car that was stuck out there several hours ago. Now, early on, deputies and police officers closed down Kennewa, both north and southbound, way beyond where you can see it. When that started to flood, they left the intersection here at 44th Street open because, quite frankly, traffic was getting through okay, and it is a major intersection. Well, about an hour and a half ago, they made the decision to close it off. You see on the Granville side, Granville Police closing that off, as well as the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department closing it off on the Georgetown Township side. And the water continues to increase the flow down here. You can see that the current is created as it flows down to the north. And I want you to take a look at that fire hydrant right there. And we've been kind of watching that. It was probably an inch or two below that the last time we came live out here to you. And that water has started to come up. You can see the same with the mailboxes down Kennewa. Definitely a tough situation here. They're asking motorists just to stay out of this area. While the police have this blocked off, cars are still trying to drive around them for whatever reason. And if you get into this, and we've talked about this throughout the day, you get into this kind of current here, a small car with a strong current could actually be wiped away. Now, that hasn't happened here yet, and it's not known if this current is strong enough, but in other cases that has happened before. The other thing they're worried about is the stability of the road. With all that water washing through here, you know, water is a solvent basically, and it's taking away all the size, eating away at that. And they're really concerned that this intersection may actually fail. There may be some serious damage underneath that water. They won't know until the water finally recedes, finally flows away. So there is some major concern, and it is this intersection could be closed for quite some time before they can get engineers in here. Again, get this water out and get engineers in here and test the road. They don't know what they're going to find once the water clears. So again, 44th and Kennewa, stay away, stay out of the area. If you don't, you're liable to run into some real trouble, especially some of these cars that got stuck in here earlier. When you came to us earlier, several drivers trying to go kind of play hopscotch across from these parking lots into the next parking lot. Sure enough, somebody gets stuck. The blue smoke coming out of their engine once they got back on dry land. I don't know how many repair bills are going to be added up around here today by the time the day is over. Just not a smart thing to do financially, obviously, and safety-wise is the utmost concern here as well. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation here along the Georgetown Jenison line with Granville, and we'll have reports throughout the afternoon. Back to you.
Hey, Joe, I want to check in with one thing here. How far down does that new river that's been created today go down Kennewa Avenue there?
I'll tell you, Brett, I would say, I'm looking up, I would say it's a good 3/4 of a mile stretch northbound, and I'm not really sure what the cross streets are. I can tell you there's a hotel and a Walmart parking lot off Kennewa. You go up there, you have to go, several yards, and then when you're looking northbound, It stretches even further, and again, the river is continuing to increase down through here. The capacity is increased, the flow is increased. So we're talking about a large section of roadway. Now, as far as 44th Street, it's a pretty short cutoff. We're right outside this the little strip mall right here on the Ottawa County side, and then you look across basically I-196, the ramp to 96 there, the off-ramp is closed off there on the Granville side. So not a large section of 44th, but Kennewa, there is a pretty good clip of it crossed out and shut down here. Keep in mind too, there's some apartment buildings and some other buildings here. There were 4 apartments in a nearby complex. They took some of the folks out of there. They were evacuated, 4 separate apartments, 4 families. They're being given shelter down the road at a church here in the Jenison area. And there's talk about some of the businesses have closed down as well. Obviously, there's concern with power and gas out here as well, as again, we're talking about that road. We're talking about the erosion. You could be talking about the infrastructure under that road as well, the gas lines, that sort of thing. So they're keeping a close eye on that as well.
Wow. It's just wild looking at that water rushing
is.
along there. Thank you so much, Joe LaFergie, live there at Kennewa and 44th. Avoid that area if you can. Well, again, we want to run down through the shelters here that they're opening if you need somewhere to go because of all this flooding. The Red Cross has shelters at the Kentwood Activity Center on 48th Street and at Ionia Armory Community Center on Main Street in Ionia. They're also planning to open one near Alpine and 7 Mile in Kent County. In Newaygo County, a shelter's open at True North Community Services on South Warner Road in Fremont. If you think you might need to evacuate, authorities are asking that you leave before your road washes out.
We have live crews fanned out all across West Michigan surveying the hardest hit areas.
So keep it right here at Wood TV and at woodtv.com for updated reports all afternoon. And if it is safe for you to do so, share your photos with us through Report It at woodtv.com.